Good morning, Bucknutters. It's Thursday, May 11th, 2017. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change, joined as always on Thursdays by Steve Wiltfong, Director of Recruiting for 24/7 Sports. Steve, I assume you're smoothied up?
I am not smoothied up. I've been at a football workout this morning, but after the workout they had donuts, juice, coffee. So I've already put down 2 donuts, which is the opposite of being smoothied up. But I feel good. I mean, anytime you eat 2 good donuts, you feel good for at least I'm on a donut high until I get pissed that I ate 2 donuts later.
It's a sports writer's creed. Free food, hopefully it's sweet, that will add to most of their electric bodies. We are talking recruiting with the Midwest Best, obviously. There has been some interesting stuff that's gone on the past week. Let's start with a guy we've talked about ad nauseum. This is probably going to be, this will be the last time we talk about him before he commits. That's Dallas Gant out of Toledo, the linebacker who was once thought to be a Notre Dame, Ohio State tussle, has announced his announcement time. Coming up next week,
yeah,
it's Tuesday. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't think it's a tussle anymore. I think we're all just waiting. Got interesting for a minute. And again, I don't even know how interesting it really was. It felt interesting. You know, I felt like Notre Dame was in there. I know I read in some Bucknuts, in some of your guys' oh man, what the hell do you guys, your boarding houses, that it felt like Notre Dame was in there. But I actually don't know if, you know, now that all the dust has settled, I don't know how close it truly was, to be honest. Maybe we just overthunk it. And then Dallas, of course, did all his due diligence and, of course, said good things about the schools that he considered alongside Ohio State. But I'm not even sure it's that close when it's all in the rearview mirror now, you know. So a really good get there for Ohio State if it does end up playing out that way, which we all think it will. Linebacker with great length, really good junior film, moves tremendously well, tough kid, smart kid, and a guy that anyone would be lucky to have in their program. And Ohio State, you know, another blue chipper, looks like he's on the verge of jumping into what is an insane 2018 class right now. I mean, you thought, I will say the 2017 class, which is still one of the best classes ever when you're just talking about it on paper. The 2013 Ohio State class is the best recruiting class that I've seen, you know, in hindsight in a long time, with how those guys developed and heard their names called during the draft. But on paper, these last 2 Ohio State classes, woo-wee, Dan, it's, you know, it's something else. And Dallas Gant, next man up, adding to it.
Yeah, there's kind of a luck factor here. I mean, I think Ohio State's going to recruit great every year, obviously, but who is in state? You know, there's some luck involved there. And they have the number 1 outside linebacker in Dallas Gant. Now, they haven't got a commitment from him yet, but the number 1 left tackle in Jackson Carman. That's probably what's pushing the class. Go ahead.
I'll say this about Gant. Although it probably wasn't close for him, he is the type of kid that could have left. Like, he wasn't a slam dunk to Ohio State when the Buckeyes offered, you know. So it just goes to show you again the recruiting prowess, that we're not taking anything for granted. Ohio State always dots I's and crosses T's for top targets, whether they're at Olentangy, in state, or down in Texas or Georgia or Florida. I think that all those kids get recruited the same way, and it shows on signing day.
Speaking of which, I'm starting to get a really good vibe on the number 1 cornerback in Texas and Anthony Cook. What's your vibe lately on a guy some think is the best corner in the country?
Well, I probably would have already crystal balled Ohio State if sources on the Ohio State side, although they're optimistic, and Ohio State's absolutely no question a top contender, if not the leader. You know, when I talk to people around Ohio State about Cook, it's a dogfight, and so it's maybe better for me to stay foggy right now because you can't sleep on the Longhorns for him. LSU and Clemson very much in there as well, and then obviously you have Ohio State. You know, if signing day was tomorrow, I'd be riding with Ohio State right now, just because I'd have to ride with someone. And I feel like I thought it was Ohio State, and it's Ohio State sources telling me that we're battling here. You know, that it's Clemson and LSU and Texas, and Cook doesn't have a leader. You know, so. One thing we all know for sure, Ohio State very much in it, and they're, you know, he's a coveted target, and they're recruiting him as hard as anybody, and he loves Ohio State too, and I wouldn't be surprised if he was ultimately a Buckeye. But I'm with you. I was feeling Ohio State, Dan. My gut says Ohio State. I'm almost talking myself into throwing in a crystal ball on it just now that I'm talking out loud. A lot of times when you work from home, you're not talking out loud about this stuff that much. You're just thinking about it, and maybe I'm talking myself into it.
No, I have that vibe. It's not just the Ohio State vibe. I don't hear the love for the other schools consistently enough.
Well, there's a huge Ohio State media market.
No question, but think about this. If you were a defensive back, and you were the number one defensive back in the country, where would you go right now? I don't think it's really even that complicated. They've got that working in their favor.
There's no question Ohio State has a lot to sell defensive backs right now. But, you know, the other three schools that I mentioned, they don't suck at recruiting, you know. And so we'll see what happens.
Speaking of other areas, meaning outside Ohio, we hit the Southwest. Let's go to the North or the Mid-Atlantic, to New York and Brooklyn. And Matt Jones, Alex Kleitman saw him over the weekend and speaks highly of him. I'm starting to get the feeling now that Jones may be, I'm not saying he's already in the fold, but I got a real good vibe on Matt Jones. What's your thoughts on him? The big two-way offensive lineman, defensive lineman. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. My crystal ball is on Ohio State for him, and I think that's where he ends up. Penn State has made a push, but not sure it's enough of a push. I haven't heard anything to make me believe that there's a new school up top. And I know Ohio State has always felt good about where they're at. So, you know, I still like Ohio State. Ohio State people have felt good. So I'm still riding with the Buckeyes there. Of course, Alex likes him. Alex likes all those New York guys. But no, he is a legit prospect. He is a legit prospect.
Well, we'll finish with this since you kind of alluded to it. Do you think, as it stands now, that the 18 class will be better than the 17 class?
Well, no, because I don't care what the rankings say. The 17 class has better prospects. I mean, Baron Browning's better than all the linebackers in 18. Chase Young is probably better than all the defensive linemen in 18, my opinion. Jeffrey Okudah, the corner from Florida. Why am I?
Shaun Wade.
There, 5-star. Yeah, Shaun Wade. I mean, those guys are elite prospects regardless of the year we're talking about, you know. So I love Teron Vincent, and I think Teron Vincent plays the game exactly the way. So he's the highest motored kid I've ever seen. He's a great player. He's so productive at D-tackle. He's going to be a can't-miss player at Ohio State, but his upside just isn't the same. You know, Chase Young is a guy that could go number one in the draft. and I don't think Terrell
Yeah.
is a guy that could go number one in the draft. You know what I'm saying? So
Sure.
For me personally, Steve Wiltfong's opinion, the 2017 class, it just has better players in it. You know, regardless of what guys are being ranked, and I've been trying to advocate we need to make our rankings keeping in mind what we had guys ranked in previous classes, and it's hard to do that, but it's like, all right, so we like J.K. Dobbins, but do we like him as much as we liked Ezekiel Elliott? You know, should they?
Sure.
If we liked Ezekiel Elliott better, but he was 27th in his class, but J.K.'s 13th in his class, he should still have a lower grade. You know, but not that easy to do that. So no.
Well, you could certainly get one of the. We could certainly get one of the super smart programmers to create some kind of algorithm where you could actually find out relative to the class how good your class is. There's no question they could do that. Now, I couldn't figure it out. I went to
when I look at 18, like Zamir White, he's as good as anybody in any recruiting class, you know. But there's not many guys in 18 that I can point to and say that guy, he stacks up every year. Baron Browning stacks up every year, and that doesn't mean that. Look, being a 30 to 60 player is still awesome, but I thought Ohio State had a lot of top 30 caliber guys. It's so, and then even like the guys that like were in that 30 to 60 range or even in the top 100, like Wyatt Davis, Josh Myers, I love those guys, you know, and think that they would be higher if they were in 18. And Wyatt was our number one offensive guard. We didn't like anybody better than him. I know there was a beef about where his final ranking was, but he was still at the top of his position ranking, you know, so love Wyatt. I'm just not in 18, the 2018 class, I don't think there's as many elite guys. And then for whatever reason, there's a lot of guys that are good and they have horrendous grades. So it's kind of a weird year, but, yeah, so we'll see. I think Ohio State, you know, so there's not as many great players in Ohio State's landing all these top 100 guys. Like who's getting all the other guys, and it's not. I think it's a kind of a down year for your roster, you know. And Ohio State's cleaning up on all the high level guys in 18. You know, from that vantage point, this could be one of the more dominant recruiting classes in the country ever. With who Ohio State, how many top 100 guys Ohio State can land? Because Taraja Mitchell,
question.
Rucker,
yeah, no doubt,
Harmon.
Yep. Excuse me. What's great about the class of 2017, and then we'll end it there, is that, or the class they just got, so many of the guys came early too. You have just an elite group of guys here early. I really think this is the foundation of the program going forward is going to be this class. You got them at all the right positions, you know. So it was definitely a haul, but that's become routine.
There's so many guys in 17 that could be a potential top 10 draft pick. So when I look at 18, there's a difference between being a first rounder and a top 10 pick, even, you know. And
sure.
I think there's potential first rounders in Ohio State's class and potential first rounders that they're going to get down the road in this class. Browning, Okuda, Chase Young, those are potential top 10 picks now, you know. Those are different kind of creatures. And there's not many guys like that in 18. Even Xavier out of IMG, the number one defensive lineman in the country, he's probably more of a DN outside backer hybrid, and he's like the number 2 player in the country. Chase Young's ceiling, and I think we ended up ranking Chase like 7 or 8 or something like that.
Fourth overall.
We did have him 4th overall. So then we're really like Chase Young's upside I don't think you can even compare the upside. Like Chase Young is, so that's the difference that's the best way I can explain the difference between 17 and 18,
And the beautiful thing about it, and we'll end it there, is that they're going to have the highest average per recruit in each. We appreciate Steve stopping by. Have a good one, Nutters.
Appreciate it.